Hey there, YouTubers. I think we are live.
Yeah, let's hope so. Yes, I take our producer muting his mic as a sign that we are live.
Most definitely. How has your week been, Jim?
Man, it's been pretty crazy over here. There was that blizzard that we that we endured.
That's all you can really do.
It was both everything I'd hoped it would be, because I've never been in a blizzard before, and also super disappointing because we weren't like snowed in under 8 feet of snow and had to dig ourselves out of the house and
Right.
All that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was I've never seen that much snow in my life. It's kind of cool.
Totally.
Yes, doing good.
Good times, good times.
Good times.
Well, this week on WebDM, we're going to continue our UA series.
Yes.
Last week, I learned how to say chassis.
Now this week we might have someone teach us the proper pronunciation of Kensai or Kensai, depending on how it's spelled.
Oh, most definitely. Yeah, let's keep it classy with the monk here. So getting on into the way of the Kensai or Kensei.
Right, and can we just say that this is perfect, because of all the times that we've been filming, and a UA article has come out after we've just filmed a show. Right. We get the pleasure to have Iron Fist have just come out over the weekend, the same weekend that we are filming Monks. So I hope we can. I haven't finished it. But I don't love what I've seen so far, but I like what I've seen so far. But it's filled with a lot of cool monk action, and so I'm excited to talk about monks. I guess that was a rather long-winded way of saying I'm excited to talk about monks.
Exactly, it is rather fortuitous. And I go ahead and cards on the table. I have finished it because I'm crazy like that, and I usually finish it by the second day. It is a very slow burn. It takes a while to get to where it's going and has no qualms about taking its time getting there. But I think it is a very interesting interpersonal drama about the flaws that are inherent in the patriarchy, and also how that extends to business dealings with foreign influences.
But I wasn't expecting any of that out of Iron Fist. I was expecting a bunch of kung fu.
Exactly, but to me, it's just how he brings his monastic ideals to the business world. And I don't know, as someone who deals with pharmaceuticals on a daily basis, the touch into that was it got me right here in my heart.
So potentially lots of cool RP fodder for our monk fans with the show, and how to play out what growing up in a monastery looks like for their characters,
and how to interact with the world, and how the world will see that. But anyway, on to we'll get past that. I don't want any spoilers to slip out or anything.
Yeah.
So the way of the Kensai.
Yes.
I really like this monastic tradition. I got to be honest. What are your thoughts on it, Jim?
I mean, so my thoughts are amazing concept. It hits my criteria, fills a niche, and provides us something new, and makes me excited to play a character.
Yeah.
I find the wording of a lot of the abilities really clunky, but that kind of gets par for the course with UA articles. Not like, I wish there was more synergy between the base monk abilities and the abilities that surround the Kensei weapon and how it's used. So that's really kind of it. There's some minor quibbles, but otherwise, just really solid class, and hits perfectly a kind of idea in my head, that Lumu Bai character, who just so in tune with their weapon.
It is an extension
through
of
years
their
and
arm.
years of practice extension of their arm, and in D&D that extension means it's magical and has all these special properties. And
let's get into the abilities of the path. The first one is, of course, you get to pick 3 martial weapons, including ranged.
Including ranged,
if you
opens up a lot of interesting combinations, and
exactly. And you can pick strength or dex, just like with your monk weapons and unarmed strikes. You can also use the damage die from that weapon, so that's a potential damage boost if you want to go great sword. So that's pretty fun. Now let's get to the third ability, which is the one where you kind of see it as a little bit of a roadblock.
Yeah, I kind of do. Just because, I mean, Monk has so many things competing for their bonus action already.
Yeah.
So to tie so much of it to a bonus action, so many of their abilities to a bonus action, I just feel like, man, you're really hurting for a bonus action, or something to do with it. But what gets me is that what I wish to see is that they create this whole second class of weapons for the monk now. Like they have monk weapons, their unarmed strike, and now Kensai weapons. And it's like, why can't we just add 3 martial weapons to the monk weapon list for this particular path, this subclass? And then you get a lot of interesting options, because you're like, now you just flurry of blows with these new weapons, instead of having this second sort of like bonus action for a D4 pummel that's sort of oddly worded. Is it all the attacks for that particular round, or just one attack? I kind of see it as, it says just one attack, not when you take the attack action. It's just very, I don't know, it's unclear how the ability is meant to work. I think it's mostly a matter of wording, but
yeah, it is clunkily worded, but it does say when you take the attack action on your turn and hit a target with a Kensai weapon, you can use a bonus action to pummel the target, dealing an additional D4 bludgeoning damage to the target and any other target you hit with the weapon as part of the attack. So once you get to 5th level and you get your second attack, you're fighting 2 guys, you hit both of them with your Kensai weapon. Would you not get to pummel both of them?
See, I would say no, because even though it mentions the attack action, it's still just mentioning one attack. And I guess this, for our viewers, this is a great reason why you should kind of read these things before DMs. You should read these things very fully before you allow them at the table, because these are questions that, like, how do you adjudicate this? Personally, I see it as, this is for one attack. I can see where they might say, okay, you activate this ability as a bonus action, and for a turn, your turn, you get this D4 extra for all of your attacks. But if that's the case, it doesn't come across with the wording.
I see it as, if you want to go all Kensai weapon for that round, then you would be able to, because it does say to the target and any other target you hit, and you can hit 2 different targets with your 2 attacks on your attack action.
Yeah.
So this is if you meant to, when you want to go all Kensai weapon, whereas the next ability, if you do attacks, Kensai weapon, unarmed attack, then you can unlock your flurry of blows and also get a +2 to your AC.
So I mean, it's an interpretation until there's clearer language, until until it eventually gets printed, hopefully. Because I love the concept and everything else about the class. It's really just this one little ability that makes me go. Ugh.
But Jim, do you think maybe they didn't just make it a monk's weapon? Because then, I mean, if you go greatsword, then you're doing like a lot of greatsword attacks with, you know what I mean?
Are you doing more than a fighter?
Well, I mean, here's the thing. If you were to do that, you could then use a greatsword, if I'm correct. You can use a monk weapon as your flurry of blows. So on top of that, if you were to couple, like, say, Great Weapon Master, you're getting an extra +10. I mean, you could start, I mean, you probably won't do as much as the fighter, but you still start pumping out a lot of damage for the monk. And so I think maybe that's why they were trying to put a governor on that.
I can see that. Yes, I mean, eventually fighters get that many attacks, but it takes them longer compared to Flurry of Blows. However, Flurry of Blows is a limited resource. It does take a limited resource to activate it. It's not something that's guaranteed. So I think for me, when you start throwing feats into the mix, everything's going to get weird, particularly a feat like Great Weapon Master. So I kind of think that, if you're using those feats and you're worried about your 6th level monk, activating a flurry of blows, obviously don't let great swords and other Kensai weapons be compatible with flurry of blows. For me, I look at it and I go, I'm wanting some elegance here. Is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for some simplicity in rules execution, and when I don't see it, I get cranky.
Nobody likes a cranky DM.
You know,
that's when TPKs start happening.
right? Exactly.
Okay.
And so that's just kind of where I'm at. I like that there's an option. If you use your bonus attack or you use your bonus action, you get this extra damage. If you don't use it, or you use your bonus action for flurry of blows, so you're making 1 weapon attack and then 2 unarmed attacks, at least you're getting that +2 AC. I like that they're giving us some options.
Right.
And like I said, everything else about the class, these other abilities we're going to kind of walk through in a minute, I think they're great. And I can immediately picture the exact character I want to play with this subclass. And that's the only thing that matters to me at the end of the day.
Okay, no, I completely agree with that. So that's a great segue. Let's move on to the 6th level ability, one with the blade. You get to basically extend your magic attack to your Kensai weapons.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get a precise strike. You get to double that proficiency bonus as a bonus action on one attack.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a short, long rest feature. I like it because this is what it ensures to me. It ensures when you want to do like a stunning strike, you're gonna hit. Like,
oh, can you do stunning strikes with your Kensai weapons?
It all stunning strike says is when you make a melee attack.
Okay. So
a melee weapon attack.
Melee weapon attack.
Then you can expend one key point.
Yeah.
And attempt a stunning strike. So if you want to ensure that you're going to hit them with that attack to do the stun, I like the extra, the extra focus.
Yeah. I mean, having an ability that lets you guarantee, or at least and double proficiency is, at a certain level, is going to be basically a guarantee. You're talking like +6, +8 later on to hit. Having something like that in your back pocket is nice. You're bound to run into enemies whose ACs are going to be frustratingly difficult to hit, particularly if your DM's using custom monsters or custom NPCs as your enemies, and not just using the stuff out of the monster manual. So, it's not a bad ability. There it is, using your bonus action again. And it's just kind of like, man, the monk just can't catch a break with this bonus action business.
Their bonus action golf bag is completely full.
It's completely full, and it sucks because I really like the idea of a rogue monk multi-class, but then it's just geez, man, like, what are they gonna do with all this? Yeah. So anyway,
I get to choose from all of these things with my bonus action.
I have all the options filled. There is a multi-class combo with Kensai that my mind's really just like going crazy for, and that is a Pact Blade Warlock. I mean, stat-wise, there's like 0 synergy here.
Yeah, 0,
my Dex Wiz Monk, my Charisma, whatever, or the Charisma Dex Warlock. But just the idea that you then summon the weapon that you get all of these bonuses with as your monk level. I can see a 3-level dip into Warlock, while costly in terms of ability score, and maybe you like those last 3 levels of monk if you're playing in that level of game. But just the idea that you summon your weapon into existence and then get all these bonuses with it, I think is pretty cool.
Most definitely.
So yeah, that's a little tangent there.
Hey, it's all right, man. We're just having fun tonight. Okay, so let's get on to 11th level, Sharpen the Blade.
Sharpen the blade.
One, up to 3 key points, plus basically +1 to +3 weapon.
Right.
For a minute.
What's not to like about it?
I can't find a thing to not like about it.
Right. So I mean, that could be the end of everything we have to say about it. I like it. It's good. It means that some of those magic weapons that you might find that don't have the stat bonuses to them, now you get them if you're like, the only thing I'm thinking of, not the only one, but the biggest one I'm thinking of is like the Flame Blade. But there are other magic weapons that don't have any plus to damage or hit or anything. It'd be nice to have. And it's just a neat ability.
Yeah, and the fact that it doesn't specify a non-magical weapon is what I like.
Right, so you can boost an already magic weapon.
An already magic weapon that doesn't have a plus to it. So it's I don't know. I like that they didn't leave that. They left that word out. And then last but not least, 17th level, Unerring Accuracy. master weapon, you get re-roll a weapon attack
Every turn.
every turn.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. That's basically like having advantage on one attack every every turn. And it's one of those things that like seals the deal with this class. It's just like it's a passive mechanic that just sort of works. And by the time you get to this level of monk, you've already got all the monk abilities stacked on top of this class. And it just I don't know. It just seems really cool. So at the end of the day, I can see apart from the couple of multi-class combos that I can think of, I can see like Battle Master Fighter being really fun with the Kensai.
Or hell, man, a samurai Kensai, a Ken Samurai, if you will.
Ken Samurai.
Trademarked.
Any of those are fun concepts, but just like the very fact that you can choose 3 martial weapons means that there's a whole host of concepts that previously, like dwarven monks, for instance, aren't getting to use the traditional dwarven weapons. Whereas if you're thinking about a D&D world and how it exists, these dwarves that are in their monastery can be wielding hammers and axes and picks and things like that, the traditional weapons of their people. And
these are the weapons of my people,
right? And so the Zen archer wood elves, who just practice with their bows until they're just amazing with them. Now can have an outlet for that in a way that perhaps they didn't have before. So that it opens up and allows for more concepts to become viable and to have an option, which is ultimately, I mean, we can argue and go back and forth about the mechanics, what's broken, what's not, what's whatever for any of these things we're talking about. But at the end of the day, an Unearthed Arcana article should be like, does it allow more concepts into the game?
Yeah.
Is it exciting to play? Does it fire your imagination when you think about playing one of these? And that's all I care about.
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah. Awesome.
Well, I think we can put that to bed and move on to the Way of the Tranquility. So,
yes,
the Way of Tranquility.
The Way of Tranquility.
I will say that with the lack of fighting in Iron Fist near the beginning, I would say he's a tranquil monk that has his sanctuary up all the time.
Certainly, all the time.
He's in and around villains a lot, and they don't attack him. I'm just saying. Right. Go into it. Just have that in mind. To me, it works. I like it, even though a lot of the abilities for this monastic tradition almost try to avert or subvert combat. Sometimes that's what you want, and having somebody like this around, just somebody who is so peaceful. Like a nexus of peace of, that when you get near him, you're just like, I was supposed to come kill this dude, but I just want to kind of sit down and have a cup of tea with him or something.
And to me, that is what I love about the Way of Tranquility, because it has just an amazing potential for RP. And I feel like in all the time I've played D&D, there's been this type of character that I sometimes see on message forums or boards, or occasionally someone comes to the table and they want to play a pacifist character in Dungeons and Dragons. And normally my advice to them is like, why in the world would you do that? Like, what are you thinking? I think there's like maybe one of the Icewind Dale games, there's a pacifist character, the old CRPGs that somehow fit, usually just like doesn't make any sense. They play some kind of wizard that deals with controlling magic or a cleric or some kind, but Way of Tranquility takes that idea of pacifism and it's just like, here's the idea of it. If they do have to fight, eventually it's going to be bad for their enemies. But the fact that you have all these features and resources available to make sure that diplomacy has a chance to flourish in a tense situation in D&D. I'm playing through Torment: Tides of Numenera right now, and I love the fact that in almost all combat situations there is a way out where you can just talk your way out.
Right.
And so that the Way of Tranquility sort of opens that door for a group to say like, usually we would fight here. But we got this guy right here. If you let him talk for 5 minutes.
Yeah, maybe there's a horde of orcs over the hill and you don't want to fight just yet. So you send in your tranquil monk, and he does his 3rd level ability, which is basically, let's go ahead and get into him, cast Sanctuary.
Yeah.
Without, I mean, you just can do it.
You can just do it, yeah.
There's no cost, there's no anything, no key point cost. You can just do it, and it works for 8 hours.
Right. And so it first off, that allows them to do the kind of things they need to do. That allows them to say, not sneak into the bad guy's lair, but walk through the front gate with a reasonable expectation that they're going to come back out. So it basically means, it is a save that monsters can pass and NPCs can pass, and so it's not a guarantee that they're not going to get hit, but it's just enough that it might be a deterrent. Particularly if he comes unarmed, genuinely seeking peace, which later on, you do have to kind of make sure that you're role playing that I am genuinely seeking a peaceful option. But I know I've said before, one of the things I like about older editions of D&D is the assumption that just because you meet a monster doesn't mean you have to kill it. And the monsters in the dungeon are just as much a resource for you to work with, manipulate, exploit, take advantage of, however you want to put it, form alliance with. And that I think that as D&D moved away from dungeon exploration to quest to save the world, that kind of went by the wayside. And so it's one of those things where it's like DMs, I would encourage DMs out there to leave the door open for the possibility that talking to that just negotiation might be an option. Maybe combat isn't always the end result of a tense situation in Dungeons & Dragons. Well, that's what this character.
Oh, totally. Yeah. And like you said before, I mean, when a group goes into a dungeon and they go in, they clear out the 1st level, and they go back to town, and when they come back, they might have to fight through something that moved in, just to get to the 2nd level. Well, why not just cut a deal with the goblins on the 1st level that you want to pass by and move on, and as long as they guard the way and keep it open and allow you safe passage, they get a share in the spoils. That way you don't have to take care of what moved in the vacuum of power in that level. I don't know.
I mean, there's a ton of options for it, and I think that particularly if you've got a player at the table who's playing a character like a Way of Tranquility monk, whether it's the actual Way of Tranquility or just a character who's diplomatic or pacifist, that you give that player the option. You don't say no, it's not going to work. You're not going to be able to talk your way out of this. We leave the door open that a clever plan that they come up with, a interesting argument that they make, particularly if they're incorporating elements that you've put out there and they're really role playing it up. Really leave the door open to changing the way you react with your NPCs and monsters to that player's efforts to use diplomacy. And I think it's one of those things where maybe it gets used a lot more than I think it does. But I really think it's a fun way to approach the game, and the way this class is laid out could really take advantage of that style of play.
Oh, definitely. I mean, if somebody really wants to be Morgan from Walking Dead,
why not?
Here you are. I mean, that's what it is, right? So let's move on to the other. By the way, the other 3rd level ability, which is your healing hands. It's a pool 10 times your level. You get to use it on any kind of an action, just a touch, and you can take some hit points, or you can take 5 hit point increments. You can neutralize a poison or cure a disease. I mean,
you can use it. You can substitute it for a flurry of blows if you want. You can use it. So
you're up front fighting side by side with your boy, and he takes a hit, and you want to heal, I mean, that's I love that it's interchangeable even in combat. That I don't know. It's just it's a great use of that.
I like it. It's more healing than you're going to get with a lay on hands ability from a paladin.
Yep.
And so it's actually in that respect, it's more than just a I find with the paladin I play and sort of looking at how people use lay on hands, like all or nothing. Like I'm gonna use all my lay on hands, or they like top it off. Like cleric healed me for X amount, I'm gonna top myself off with my lay on hands. So for healing hands here, I like that it's more. I like that you can still do the same things with it, cure poison, cure disease. I like the fact that you can use it in combat, so that you're you can sort of mix it up a bit. There's just and in general, I'm a fan of healing effects that break the mold of just another cure spell. Right. So Life Cleric is great. They're amazing, but they shouldn't be the sole dedicated healers in a party. There should be other options. I like that there are now Bard and Cleric and now Monk options for a healer. Can the Way of Tranquility Monk be a primary healer for your party? Maybe if they took Inspiring Leader or Healer feats. Maybe. And those are certainly in line with a lot of the RP sort of story elements of Tranquility.
Yeah, you could even take the feat, Magic Initiate, and go with like Spare the Dying, and some, I don't know, good protection from good and evil, maybe
something like that. Yeah,
or
even just another cure spell.
Yeah, or just one of the cure spells. You can do it once, but who gives a shit?
Yeah. So I think that in that respect, Healing Hands serves its function well, serves the character concept well. Really like it, and sort of reinforces that idea of the monk. Where this particular monk is.
Cool. And so on to 6th level, Emissary of Peace. You were mentioning this earlier in certain situations. So take it away there. I
mean, just the advantage on charisma checks that involve like peace talks, like genuine efforts at diplomacy and an attempt to resolve a situation non-violently. I mean, it's a Dungeons and Dragons world. We showed up to this game for the action, for the heroic fantasy of it. But that doesn't mean that every conflict has to end in combat. And there might be times in the course of a campaign where the party can turn potential adversaries into allies, even if temporarily, through the use of clever role-playing and good die rolls, which should always come second to clever role-playing. And so I like that this is where the die roll comes in. It's sort of that guarantee that say what happened in our Curse of Strahd game last week, where you're trying to talk down the mad wizard who's about to blast us to oblivion, and you roll really well the first time and really crappy on a subsequent follow-up roll. This is the ability that's designed to mitigate that second. You know what I mean? Like, just the advantage. Not always going to come through. Sometimes you're going to roll 2 single digits. That's going to suck. But for the most part, advantage is good to have. And it's nice that it's on demand, no limit. Just as long as you approach them in good faith, you get this benefit. And
also you get a bonus proficiency, either performance or persuasion.
Performance or persuasion. And so I can see, this is where I can start seeing synergies between Bard or Rogue and the Way of Tranquility Monk, just because you get expertise in persuasion. Would not be a bad thing. And obviously, if you're playing a Way of Tranquility Monk and diplomacy is your thing, then charisma is going to be a stat that you don't skimp on.
Well, yeah, I mean, that should go without saying.
Yeah. But even if you do, still get advantage.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing. You've learned the right words to say, even if you don't say them eloquently.
Right.
You have all the best words.
Yeah.
The best words ever. Anyway, so on to 11th level with Douse the Flames of War.
Douse the Flames of War.
I mean, when you got a big bad who's about to bow up on you, and you maybe just need to give yourself just a little bit more time.
Just a little bit more space. This is the Doctor Who ability, where he just talks his way out of it before fighting actually starts. That's what it is. It's very situational. And this is the other thing to think about with this kind of character. This is the kind of character that if you have in a party with and the members of your group, maybe they're not all copacetic, maybe you're just play with some random people once a week, you don't really have a relationship with them outside of the game, that might step on someone's toes, because you might have someone that showed up to throw down.
Right.
They didn't roll barbarian because they wanted to talk it through. They rolled barbarian to lay the hurt on somebody. And if you have, there is a type of party and a type of player where having a frenzy barbarian and a way of tranquility monk in the same party is a fun opportunity. And the interplay between those two extremes can be fun. And then there are some groups where those extremes are going to lead to conflict very quickly.
Yeah.
And I can see that happening with an ability like that.
Well, just an example of that kind of dynamic. I remember a game I played in with some guys down in San Marcos, and I played Roscoe Threestone, halfling frenzy barbarian that used a great sword. Actually, used a long sword as a great sword. Right. But he didn't wait for anybody, and there was one guy in particular who was obviously the kind of the unnamed, the fearless leader of the group.
Yes. There's always one. There's always a fearless leader
who liked to take his time with everything, scope everything out, maybe talk, whatever. And there were at least 3 occasions where I just ran in because he was wanted to scout it out and plan it. And I just ran in there and frenzied and just started hacking. And they're all like, what the, it's like, that's role playing, baby.
Barbarians have the hit points and resistance to do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But everybody else just has to survive.
Yeah.
Yeah. It can be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Or it could be a disaster.
We were fine every single time. It was great.
But for the tranquility, if you're able to, this is very situational, right? Like they can't have lost hit points. There's all these conditions under which if they see an ally get a hit, there's a ton of stuff there that leads it. But if you're looking for that breathing space, say hey, but at the very least, before we fight, let's talk about something and try to get some information from them. Maybe the way a tranquility monk creates that space for a social encounter to precede a combat encounter where the villain can then monologue, maybe give away some information that he didn't mean to give away, maybe reveal something, bit of fluster. That's the opportunity as a DM to so much of what we do as DMs is just parcel out information in little tiny morsels that make sense and are plausible to the party. And you don't want to give too much because then the players are like choice overload, analysis paralysis, all those other buzzwords for what's going to happen. And you don't want to be too stingy because then they're going to be like, what the hell are we supposed to do? And so as a DM, you should always be looking for ways to parcel out information. And I see this ability and I go, the player uses that. They've now turned a combat encounter into a social encounter, at least temporarily. This is a good opportunity for new information to be imparted to the party. The party learns who the real power is behind the thugs that keep harassing them. Yeah. The party learns the true revelations of the priest that that they've been chasing for all these levels. This is a great opportunity for that. And besides, it's time to ham it up with your villains in a social encounter, because usually when your villains are there, they're just there to get beaten on for two rounds, and then left for dead by the party. At least now you get to role play some of these guys. This amazing ability. Thank you, player.
Well, and what it also does is it couples well with the Battlemaster Monk's ability to study an enemy for a minute and learn a couple things. So if you got a Tranquility Monk and a Battlemaster fighter, Monk goes in, talks to him, Battlemaster sits back. He's all like Malcolm Reynolds, sizing up Brance Burgess. It's like, hey, we need to get the F out of here right now. And then maybe you don't go through with your attack because you learned some valuable information, Yeah. I don't know, but it's a very interesting ability. I'll say that.
Well, and just it sort of encapsulates the entire subclass, and that it's a interesting subclass, and this is I'm really kind of excited, and I'm proud is too strong of a word, but I admire Wizards of the Coast for putting out something like this because it's so different and so I don't know. Yeah. I wasn't expecting to see it. And so I really think I just really like it. And then we get to this last ability.
Well, yeah, you've built up all of that you see so much misery in the world as you go through it with your peaceful whatever persona, and then you get to this and you see somebody get dropped, and you become
oh hell no.
you become a beast for like a round.
Yeah, and this is where having the base monk abilities mean like, oh, because you get this at 17th level. So now you're like, all right, so I'm making 4 attacks with flurry of blows, each of those plus 17. It's like, yeah, I'll lay the hurt on somebody. That's gonna suck.
Yeah, no, it's gonna.
It's only gonna get worse.
And it's only gonna get worse. You'll eventually get up to 80 extra hit point or 80 extra damage. I mean, geez, nothing wrong with that.
And so I really like it. It's a good ability that acknowledges that, and I think the entire class acknowledges that fighting and combat happen, even if you're playing a pacifist type character, a character that seeks peace and diplomacy before attacking. That when the chips are down, they can still lay the hurt on some monsters, particularly if it's a rough fight and someone's already dropped. So I don't know, it's a nice capstone to the class, and I think it really rounds it out and gives it a lot of options. I
completely agree. And so yeah, maybe a little bit better wording on some of the Kensai abilities.
Yeah, but
overall, it's still a fun subclass, and then Tranquility is a hell of a lot of fun if that's what you're looking for.
If that's what you're looking for, and you know what, if you've never tried it out or never played it, give it a shot.
Hey, I talk about him all the time, but I'm loving Pierce, and he's mostly he does a lot of damage, but I'm attacking more now than I was always.
He didn't always.
But yeah, so that's all we got for monks this week.
Yeah, just the 2 monk.
Yeah, there's only 2. What are we doing next week? Are we gonna go on to Paladin, or are we gonna talk about Mystics, Jim Davis?
I've just got finished reading through some of Mystic. Mystic's a lot to digest. It's 28-page document there. There's a lot going on. I don't know that I'd be able to do justice to Mystic. And besides, we promised people Artificer.
Oh God, yes, that is true.
So, yeah. And second off, somebody asked us last week to predict what this week's UA would be, and boy, did we not call that, because I did not see Mystic coming. But just goes to show you can't predict shit.
No, not
never
at all.
should try. Please don't.
No, please don't. But so that's all we got for the class. Travis, are we gonna do? We're gonna field some questions, some Q&A.
Let me wet my whistle.
We got a couple questions here. I like this one. Who would your next monk be?
What's that?
Who would your next monk be? What would be the next monk character you roll one up tonight? What would your next monk be?
Oh, well, I know for certain, like the next character I wanted to play was a half-orc samurai, but my next monk character would probably be like a half-orc Kensai, because I think both would be...
That work. I've had a strong desire to play open hand monk. I haven't played just a human open hand monk. I haven't had a chance to play them. We've had a few in our campaigns, but not like for a long term. Right. And so I really want to see. This is like the monk, and I want to see what it looks like to play. How fun is it? How does it differ from previous iterations of the monk? Yeah,
definitely. But yeah, that half orc. Let me tell you, man. Once you can re-roll that weapon attack, and you take Savage Attacker, so you re-roll in damage.
Yeah, there's a question about monks Pruitt, not samurais.
No. I'm talking about. I'm sorry. I meant to say Kensai. My bad. If I did the half orc Kensai, I apologize. But that 17th level ability where you get to re-roll an attack, by that time you would take Savage Attacker feat, so re-roll in damage. Plus you get an extra crit damage die from being a half orc. I mean,
it'd be pretty nuts.
It'd be pretty nuts.
Yeah. And fits too. It's a nice synergy, half orc and Kensai.
We got another one there, Trav.
We got one more. Where does the monk roll typically fall? Support, damage dealer. I've never seen one in action before.
I didn't catch the end. Support, damage dealer, or
I've never seen one in action before. Somebody who's never played a monk.
Never played one. You played more monks, Pruitt. What would in terms of where you fit in a party? What do you think?
Well, a monk is definitely a mobile support damage dealer, in my opinion. When I played Solaria Shadowfall, my shadow monk, wood elf shadow monk. She was all about mobility and movement. I took the mobility feat so I could just run through enemies if I just popped them once and they wouldn't get an attack of opportunity. And so you can move really quick and do some damage, do some stunning. Yeah, so you can set up your fighter to get
advantage on those attacks.
Yeah. And so they're mobile range damage dealer.
I mean, particularly Shadow Monk, just because they have the teleport plus the fast move. Yeah, I tend to agree. They're not, they differ from a class like Barbarian or Paladin or Fighter in that they can't soak up damage. That you don't want them in the mix that much. So they're damage dealer, but they shouldn't get stuck in. Should always have a way out, a way to move out. So in that respect, they do fulfill sort of a support role in that they're in and out, using their stunning fist in support of other classes.
Yeah,
that's kind of how I see them. They make a great if you've already got a meleeer in the party, like a fighter or a paladin or a barbarian or whatever, they make a great complement to that class. But even if you've got, like, say, a monk and a rogue, the two of them working in coordination, because they're both fast as well.
They're both fast and stealthy, so you'd be doing a lot more ambushing, taking people out really fast, and also that stunning fist. I mean, you either want to try to get in and get out before they attack you, or you use that stunning fist, and then they're just sitting there. Yeah, your turn again.
If you've never seen them in action before, monks can make particularly good wizard killers. Because of the stunning fist. So watch out. You know, if you're a DM, if you have facing a monk, your casters might be particularly vulnerable to them. Slip behind the back line, stunning fist them, and now your own support is taken out.
Yeah, especially if they have the Mage Slayer feat. Man.
Yes.
All right, here we go. This is the lightning round. I got one for both of you.
Oh my God.
One for each of you. And then we're going to get out of here. Here we go. First one's for Jim. Jim, if you were designing a dungeon that was on the moon, what fun and interesting things would you put in it?
I mean, first off, I'd really take advantage of the three-dimensional space. The fact that there's the gravity is lessened, so like impossibly long falls or chasms that you have to jump across would definitely be it. There might be if it's like, say, if there's like a combat room in the dungeon, right? Maybe an arena or a fighting pit or something, like spikes on the walls. You like throw people up and into them, and it's like they don't have anything to push off of, so they just slowly see themselves floating into the spike. I don't know, something like that would be neat. That's an image in my head. I'd want to make sure it was in the dungeon, but definitely something that plays around with the 0G and uses three-dimensional space to really highlight that. And maybe parts of the dungeon are open to a vacuum, and the players have to activate a certain sequence of, I don't know, widgets in order to seal off or open different parts of the dungeon, so that, like, not the entire dungeon can't always be sealed. They can only keep a certain portion of it habitable, and then the rest of it is open to the void. Those are some things I might do with the Dungeon on the Moon.
Dungeon on the Moon.
Dungeon on the Moon.
Dude, Dungeon on the Moon.
Copyright
right,
that,
Here we go. I'm working on my screenplay. Here we go. Pruitt, how would you make a drunken fist type monk?
Oh man. Well, it would probably have to do a little something like the Kensai. Well, I don't know. Something between the Kensai and the Battle Master, where you have a series of abilities that if you use a bonus action to take a drink for like the next minute, you get this or that, right? And so you would also want to do some kind of like extra bonus to either like balancing or acrobatics to show the stumbling around. It would need to be harder to hit people for people to hit you. So there need to be ability in there that would deal with that. I'm just making general.
It's very great.
There's
a ton of stuff you can do.
There's a ton of stuff, and if you haven't gotten there, I don't want to say anything, but just watch Iron Fist. there's an interesting part in the show.
How
How
would you make a drunken master like using the rules that exist right now, like not a custom class? Like, is there any standout ability or anything that fits for it? Do you think, or you just play like open hand and role play it as a drunken master?
Yeah, I would play it open hand and role play it as a drunken master. Maybe take Savage Attacker, just for those like
tavern brawler.
Those maybe. Well, but you don't really need tavern brawler.
Bad feet to begin with.
Yeah, you already have like hit stuff. I mean, about the only thing is using like anything. You're proficient with anything, and so maybe like I don't know. Maybe take tavern brawler, but most of it would be wasted.
I think if like a player showed up and they're like they want to play a drunken master kind of character, I'd be like, okay, you just play an open hand, but like once a long rest or once a short rest, something you could take a drink to get key points back.
Ooh.
Like keep a flagon with you, just like pop it off, something like that. I don't know how often I'd let them do it, but
yeah, no, replenishing your key or maybe giving temp HP when you take a chug gives you some temp HP. But yeah, you would definitely need to, I would want to, I've thought about this a few times. I've never sat down and wrote it out, but yeah, doing a drunken master pass would be fun. Maybe we should talk about that, Jim.
You ought to write it up, man.
Yeah.
DM skilled, man. Yeah.
Well, do we have anything else there, Trev?
Nope, take us out, Pruitt.
Okay, well, that brings our Sunday Unearthed Arcana show to a close. As always, we love y'all tuning in. Get out there, tell your friends, tell them to subscribe. Let us know what you think in the comments. Tell us what you want to see in future shows, whether it's the Wednesday show or the Unearthed Arcana show, because eventually we're going to get to the end of classes, and then we're going to have to start.
What we're going to do on Sundays then. I mean, it's going to be nuts.
There's a lot to talk about.
There's so much to talk about.
So much.
Oh my god.
But yeah, I guess we'll see you. We'll see you definitely on Wednesday, but we'll see you live next Sunday. And y'all take it easy and keep on rolling.